Hello, everyone. George Webb, still here in Coeur d'Alene, and the worst case of justice I think I've ever seen. This is the worst. This is the worst forensic investigation ever. This is the worst forensics ever. This is the worst investigation ever. I've seen cover-ups before. I've seen destruction of evidence before. I've seen botched investigations before. I've never seen anything this bad. This is the topper. You think Kennedy investigation is bad? You think RFK is bad? You think all these other murder investigations are bad with destruction of evidence? Nothing compared to the Idaho 4. Nothing.
I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun.
Listen to Pavarotti.
Can I be your superhero?
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. And let me tell you, I've been going through all of that information, all of the actual evidence in the case, and I found so many things that I'm going to be bringing to you, but it's so big, I'm not just going to go through and read those things. This is some real investigating going on now, and I've already found, I found hundreds of things, but I've found two things that will blow your mind, clean out your ears. And I'm going to share one of them in this video. I mean, it's unfreaking believable. And I assure you, it's nothing anybody has said. It is absolutely just crazy. So I put out that video last night. I wanted everybody to really grasp what I looked at that press conference, because we've listened to the mindless people out there for so long tell us about all the evidence that they're going to have once this thing is done, the mountain of evidence. Has anybody heard one thing that goes towards Brian Kohberger's guilt that we didn't already know now that everything's come out? I've gone through all these I haven't seen one thing in the press conference. They didn't give one thing. The only thing that happened was they debunked half of the ridiculousness that we've heard over and over and over for almost 3 years. Not only was there not one piece of new evidence in this case, they didn't even have the evidence that we thought they had in this case. And everybody is so strong on that K-bar purchase. I'm putting it together. We knew it wasn't going to be black and white, and I'll be able to prove that. They don't have Kohberger buying a K-bar knife. It's unbelievable. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure I hit home last night was what I truly believe is the strategy going on right now. This is day 42. Put the slash through it. We got 41 more days after this before an appeal has to be filed. Well, what I've put together is, along with Garza, where they were at in the case. It is a punch strategy, because they were about to be just railroaded at trial, and they knew it. And Ann Taylor was in over her head, let's face it. But she knew it. She set it up for ineffective assistance of counsel this whole way. Here's one thing everybody has to understand is, once Kohberger files an appeal for ineffective assistance of counsel, well, Ann Taylor can no longer be his attorney, because she was the ineffective assistance of counsel. I mean, that's just black and white. And she knew it. This is her passing the baton. But I believe this was already planned out, and it was planned out with Brian Kohberger's family. If you read the documents, you'll find that Brian Kohberger was on the phone with his mother, FaceTiming for a couple of hours every day since he's been in jail. This was something that they strategized, I believe, and they are putting into play. Everybody thinks that there's a certain article out there that's not true. I firmly believe that it is true. I believe that once Brian files for ineffective assistance of counsel, he's going to actually get actual attorneys, paid for attorneys. They're going to have the money. The family's finally going to have the money to pay the retainer for real attorneys. Let me show you this article. If you haven't seen it, people think it isn't real. I firmly believe it is. I believe they did this so that they could afford to pay for Brian an attorney. Okay, so this first part, I don't really believe to this. Admitted unaliver Brian Kohberger has consented to sit-down interview. Doubt that. But this one right here, I do believe. Kohberger family to receive payment for supplying never-before-seen pictures. According to sources, it was Kohberger's family that convinced Brian Kohberger to consent to the interview. I doubt it. Amanda Kohberger, 37, has had to move back her parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Both of Kohberger's older sisters, Amanda and Melissa, were working in the mental health care industry. One was terminated and the other resigned shortly after their brother's arrest in December of 2022. According to sources close to the family, they hope with Kohberger setting the record straight, they can move forward and resume their once very productive lives. Watch this. According to sources close to the family, they hope with Kohberger setting the record straight. What do you think that means? The Kohberger family will receive a six-figure sum for providing never-before-seen pictures of Brian and the Kohberger family. The network have bought the rights to use the pictures during the interview. I believe that they would sell this network the pictures for six figures. Six figures, that could be 100,000, 200, 300, 400, 500. You can bet it's enough to pay for the retainer on their attorney. And they sell pictures. They don't actually have to do the interview. That's why I believe that it's possibly true. And if it is, then it would be the perfect strategy to take the plea, get rid of the death penalty, file for ineffective assistance of counsel that's been set up all along the way, remove his current counsel and enter new counsel that are paid actual attorneys that will be able to take on a case of this magnitude. It's the perfect plan as far as I can tell. And as long as this little article here is true, I don't think there's any other way to look at it. And we'll know for sure within 42 days, that's a fact. Okay, so now that's that. And yes, I believe Ann Taylor and team did an excellent job. But I believe that they are absolutely over their heads, and I think they knew that. And Brian needs private attorneys because going through just the evidence that's been released, I mean, the myriad of things that I've looked at, but two in particular. One is that's why I've got to save it for another video because it is so big. I have to really get my mind around it because it makes a lot of things in this case very, very scary. I mean, very scary. But the one I'm going to disclose to you in this video is equally as scary, and it should scare everyone, and it'll show you the complexity of this case and what they were dealing with. Because this isn't just a case of a poor investigation. I mean, this is a case of literally hiding evidence, destroying evidence, along with it being a terrible investigation. It's unfreaking believable. But what I'm going to talk about next, you'll all freak out because I've talked about it so many times. I thought I was the one that actually found this, but it wasn't. Turns out MPD was all over it really fast, but they just never listened to the enhanced audio to hear the gun rack. They listened to the regular audio, and unless you knew exactly where to listen to turn it up, you wouldn't have noticed that gun rack. But it is in all the audio. But in the enhanced audio, you can hear it very clearly. But they were all over gun rack guy. What I'm about to show you will freak you out when I get done. Not just the initial part, but when I show you what the outcome was with this evidence, you're not going to believe it. I mean, I can't believe it. Let's roll. Okay, on November 23rd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a search warrant for Queen Road. It doesn't say which apartment. This 500 Queen Road. The residence of SJS. The warrant was based off of the following information. JS. OFC house, and I responded to Queen Road at approximately 1,000 hours on 11/15/22. We walked on the common walkway in front of the door to S's apartment. You don't think that's Jack Showalter, do you? Surely not. But listen to this. To the front door to the apartment and observed the exterior of the door. The area around the door had numerous spots of a dried fluid which appeared to be rust drops from a metal door frame, not on the frame itself. I observed what appeared to be a different fluid spot on the door approximately 8 inches up from the bottom of the door under the doorknob. I also noticed the deadbolt plating was clean, polished silver, and had no dirt on it. I walked away from the door in order to conduct an interview on a possible witness. OFC House and several members of the ISP forensic unit, to include Detective Hugh Powell, walked back to Queen Road. I met up with OFC House and Detective Powell a short time later, and they told me they believed the spot of dried fluid on the door displayed similar characteristics to that of dried blood. Namely, Detective Powell stated the spot displayed a cracking texture, common when blood dries on a surface. The spot also displayed a similar drop pattern to the blood spots found on the banister wall and the wall on the stairwell to the ground floor, which I observed inside 1122 King Road. What? The blood spots found on the banister wall and the wall on the stairwell to the ground floor, which I observed inside 1122 King Road. Are you kidding me? So right there, we've got this officer admitting that he'd seen not just unknown male blood on the handrail going down from the second floor to the bottom floor, but it was similar to a drop pattern to the blood spots found on the banister wall and the wall on the stairwell to the ground floor. That means that there was a lot of blood going from the second floor to the first floor, not like they tried to make us think one little tiny speck of blood on a stair rail. Come on, y'all. This thing is a giant farce. I can't believe they even put this out there for us to find. It's crazy, but that's not even it. That's just one thing. OFC House also told me he looked at several other doorknobs and deadbolt plates on the doors in the same apartment complex. So this is the Queen Road Apartments, all of which had a fine layer of dust. OFC House also confirmed S door did not have the same layer of dust as though it had been cleaned off. So why would that doorknob, what they're saying is that doorknob is much cleaner than the rest of the doorknobs, like it had actually been cleaned. So insinuating that if it had blood on the doorknob that they polished it. I returned to MPD and was notified by Detective Vargas, who was reviewing security camera footage provided by the owners of Linda Lane, of possible footage of someone walking by the cameras at 0350 hours on 11/13/22. What? I returned to MPD, was notified by Detective Vargas, who was reviewing security camera footage provided by the owners of Linda Lane of possible footage of someone walking by the cameras at 350 hours on 11/13/22. This isn't dumpster guy. This is gun rack guy. I watched the film with Detective Vargas. The camera shows the parking lot of Linda Lane, which is situated directly south of Queen Road. The frame captures a portion of the Queen Road parking lot in front of, but does not capture the apartments themselves. The area of Queen Road is also much darker than Linda Lane. The video is infrared and is thusly displayed in black and white. At approximately 3 3:50 hours, 3:50 in the morning on 11/13/22. Per the timestamp on the video, a figure clad in dark clothing can be seen walking from the building which houses Queen Road. Which houses Queen Road. That's their whole statement. Can be seen walking from the building which houses Queen Road. The figure walks to the west of the parking lot and leaves the frame of the video as the figure enters the sidewalk area between the other two apartment buildings at Queen Road. The terminus of this sidewalk is immediately east of 1122 King Road. The figure is not captured by the cameras any further. Based off the information above, MPD and ISP officers served a search warrant on the exterior of the front door to whatever apartment number in Queen Road this is. Access to the residence per the search warrant was granted only if a presumptive positive test for blood was found on the exterior door. Nothing was found during this search and the warrant was returned. So this was after they noticed all the dried blood all over the front of this apartment. And they thought it was rust at first. I'll have to pull it up. I don't have it for you in this video, but I actually started out at the end and worked my way back. On the day, 11/13/22, when they went to the Queen Road apartments and they were interviewing everybody, this is how dumb they are. An officer noted in his report these spots that he thought was rust as he interviewed people. And he even put in the report that I believe those spots to be rust. Therefore, I don't believe the people have any information of value. Therefore, I did not record the people's information. He didn't take their names, numbers, anything. He talked to them, didn't take a statement. He thought it was rust, and that was it. So they come back a few days later, they realize it's blood, but then they have to go get a search warrant. When they go get the search warrant, it's contingent on a presumptive positive blood test for those spots, for them to be able to follow through with the warrant. But then when they get back and go to serve the warrant, nothing was found during this search and the warrant was returned. Nothing. Somebody had cleaned it all up and they couldn't get the warrant. But it doesn't end there. This is insane, y'all. It doesn't end there. But let me give you a visual of this real quick. All right, so here's the King Road neighborhood. And as we zoom in here to the Queen Road apartments where the camera footage is. All right, so right here is the Queen Road apartments. The camera's looking this way. Gun rack guy comes walking this way in between the Queen Road apartments. All right, and here comes the gun rack. Okay, so they wouldn't have been able to hear that when they're looking at this footage originally. But just like we see in the police report at 0350, look, see, there he goes right there. So again, 0350, they had a warrant. They needed a presumptive blood test to get them in, but there was nothing found during that search, and they had to return the warrant. And that was on, what did I say, 11/15, I believe. Yeah, 11/15. But on 11/23/22, now this is 10 days after the unaliving, MPD Officer Morris was contacted by JS, a maintenance worker for, I'm guessing, the Queen Road Apartments, which manages 500 Queen Road. And they told Officer Morris he conducted a routine maintenance order on something Queen Road on 11/22/22, wherein he discovered something of note. I had Officer Morris call S and place him on speakerphone so I could talk to him. I asked S to tell me what he found. S told me he and another maintenance worker entered the apartment on 11/22/22 in order to check on a water quality complaint made by the tenant. Both men checked the kitchen and did not notice any issues. S said he entered the only bathroom in the residence and began to inspect the drain. When the other maintenance worker advised, there appeared to be blood on the shower curtain. S said he looked and discovered what appeared to be two separate smudge marks on the shower curtain, which appeared to be dried blood. S described the smudges as 1 inch by 1 inch. S said he then noticed another smudge of what appeared to be dried blood on the toilet flusher handle. S added there appeared to be spatter of dried blood near the light switch on the interior wall of the bathroom. I asked S to describe the marks. He told me they appeared to be reddish, brown in color. S added, I've seen dried blood before, and the marks appeared to be similar to that. S added the only thing he did in the restroom was flush the toilet in order to check the water quality. S said the toilet appeared clean, but became clogged when he flushed it. S noted it was odd the toilet became clogged. S said he and his counterpart then left the apartment. I asked S if anyone else had reason or means to access the apartment besides he or S between the time he left and the current time. S said no. I asked S between the time he left and the current time. S said no. I served the search warrant with ISP investigators Jeff Talbot, Hugh Powell, and Jack Schweeke. We discovered the blood smears and spots in the location S described. In addition, there were more blood spatter spots on the wall on the entryway into the living room. Samples of each were collected, 94 in total. And ISP Detective Talbot took photos of the residence. Upon completion, I left the required paperwork on the couch in the living room, because that's how they do their search warrants. Told y'all a long time ago. And Detective Talbot took a photo of it. All units cleared without further incident. The search warrant was returned on December 4th, 2022. Then it says 4 other. None. I don't know what that means. 4 other none. I certify and declare the penalty of perjury. The law of state of Idaho is foregoing and true and correct. So they collect all this blood in this apartment in Queen Road. And why isn't this person, who is obviously gun rack guy, being arrested? What happened? Here's the only thing that I can find that happened with this, and it is unfreaking believable. And I had to go all the way to the end to find this, and once I seen the number 94, I knew what I was looking at. Lost blood samples. You're not going to believe this. Blood on the living room wall. Officer stated he erred in writing 94 sample and really meant 4. This is referring to blood splatter on the wall into the living room. What is going on? Turns out on July 25th, 2024, when the defense was really wanting this in discovery, I was asked by the prosecution in this case to review my supplement number 73, to clarify where the 94 samples were in relation to this supplement, as I only listed 4 samples as being booked into evidence. I reviewed my supplemental and readily recognized there was a typing error. The sentence reads, in addition, there were more blood spatter spots on the wall on the entryway into the living room. Samples of each were collected, 94 in total. And ISP Detective Talbot took photos of the residence. The error occurred when I typed 94 in total. This was supposed to read 4. I failed to hold the shift key to select the parentheses on the 9 key, which resulted in a 9 being typed instead of a quotation mark. Yeah, I bet. You got to be kidding me. The sentence was meant to read as follows. In addition, there were more blood spatter on the wall on the entryway into the living room. Samples of each were collected, 4 in total, and ISP Detective Talbot took photos of the residents. You have got to be kidding me. So why would they arrest Brian Kohberger? Well, I don't know. Maybe because they absolutely destroyed every lead that they had in the investigation into the real perpetrators. Maybe that's why. Maybe because they were so incompetent on everything in the case, they had no other choice. And I mean, I've gone through so much. What I'm currently doing right now, and I believe me, I know everybody, the DoorDash driver, what she testified to, the cars. You know me, I don't just go up here, we're going to read this and talk about it. I like to break it down and make it real for you. So everything that I do with this information, I'm going to bring to life because I can see things from a mile away. I've looked at all their testimonies. I've looked at I've looked at everything in there already. That's how psycho I am on this stuff. And the one thing that I found so many things, but the one thing that I found that I've got to really think about before I put it out, it is very, very scary. Y'all are going to freak out when I show it to you. But I'm going to go through and I'm trying to put everything, I've noted everything, I'm putting them in categories, and I'm going to go over everything that's pertinent in all of this information with you. And I'll try to get through it as expedient as I can because I know we got more stuff coming. But if that doesn't just set you down, that my number one person that I've been hammering for a long time now, gun rack guy, they had it. They had it from the very beginning and they messed it up. They messed it up. I mean, I better see something coming down the road where they at least identified gun rack guy. We better see something where they identified the guys walking to the dumpster. Now, there is testimony in there from a couple of guys that walked down Blake, across Taylor, and then they crossed over in front of more close to the King Road residence, similar to the time frame of when you see dumpster guy walking up, but not at the proper time and didn't go in the proper places. I've yet to see any kind of testimony for gun rack guy yet, but I'm going through this stuff and it is knocking me to the floor. Can you believe that Brian Kohberger just pled guilty? I haven't seen anything, not one thing, not one piece of evidence. And when I watch the mainstream morons, they're going through the same stuff I'm going through. What are they picking out? They're picking out the things that I'm calling the crackpot tips. They're actually putting the crackpot tips up on the computer. And if they read those, like I seen them, they've all put this Tinder date. We said Brian Kohberger was talking to her over. That was all people that called in crazy things after they arrested Brian Kohberger. And if you read the entire lead, they followed up on it and there was nothing to corroborate they were telling the truth. One person called and said that Kohberger was going to school in Oklahoma in 2018. And I believe he said him and Jack Showalter were at Oklahoma and they had knives and they were doing all kinds of stuff. And, the Payne puts in there, I've researched it, and he's never even been to Oklahoma. These are crackpot leads, and that's what mainstream morons are still putting out on this thing. You have got to be kidding me. This is a travesty. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Post your comments, your thoughts, your criticisms, and until next time, Pavarotti's out.